Right now, someone stands on the edge of a breakthrough. Your soul feels tired, your heart is heavy, and your mind is crowded with questions. When, God? How long, God? Why the delay? But I speak to you with the fire of truth burning inside me. God has heard your cry. He has not forgotten a single prayer. The silence you've endured has not been rejection. It has been a divine pause. And the door you've been knocking on with trembling hands and tear-stained prayers is about to open. There is a stirring taking place in the unseen realm. You may not feel it, you may not see it, but faith was never rooted in your senses. It has always been about trusting the one who holds time, doors, and destinies in his hands. God is not slow, beloved. God is precise. The delay you face was not to punish you, but to prepare you. What you call waiting, God calls refining. What you call stagnation, God calls transformation. And the reason the door hasn't opened yet is because God doesn't want to just open it. He wants to establish you behind it. When God opens a door, no man can shut it. And when He closes one, no force in the universe can pry it open. You've been pounding on doors that looked right, sounded right, even felt right, but God kept them shut. Why? Because He knew that just because a door looks good doesn't mean it leads to the place He designed for your elevation. God is not interested in temporary victories. He is building you for something eternal, something weighty, something with purpose. You see, some of you have been waiting for years, not weeks, not months, years. And the enemy has whispered in the dark corners of your mind, it's never going to happen. You've been forgotten. That dream is dead. But let me stand before you and crush that lie with the weight of truth. God never forgets what He promises. Your delay is not denial. Your pain has not been wasted. The door's about to swing open, not because of your perfection, not because of your effort, but because of God's faithfulness. There are doors you prayed for when you didn't even know how to pray properly. Doors you cried for in silence. Doors you fought for in the battlefield of your mind. God saw it all. He counted every tear. He recorded every sleepless night. And now in His divine timing, He is aligning every detail. He is moving hearts. He is shifting circumstances. He is orchestrating events behind the scenes, all so that when the door opens, it will not be by coincidence. It will be undeniable that God did this. Don't mistake God's silence for absence. He's been closer than you think. The waiting season wasn't empty. It was a construction site. While you were crying, God was building. While you were questioning, God was structuring. While you were breaking, God was molding. He allowed the door to remain closed because the version of you that started this journey wasn't strong enough to carry what lies behind that door. But now, after the storms, the losses, the wilderness, you've been fortified. Some of you are standing before a door that generations before you have tried to walk through and fail. You are about to break generational curses, step into territories your family only dreamed of, and occupy places that were reserved for your obedience. You've been faithful over a little, and now God is getting ready to make you ruler over much. And this is not a door that leads to easy, it's a door that leads to assignment. God doesn't open doors for comfort. He opens them for calling. You may not feel qualified. You may think, why me? But that's the beauty of God. He doesn't choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. He doesn't look for perfection. He looks for surrender. And if you've been surrendered, even in your weakness, God has been watching. Heaven has taken notice of your endurance. You didn't quit when you were betrayed. You didn't walk away when people mocked you. You stayed on your knees. You stayed in position. And now the door is about to open. And hear me, when God opens a door, it won't come with confusion. It won't require you to compromise. It won't demand that you beg for validation. The door God opens will bring peace. It will confirm what your spirit already knows. It will draw you closer to Him, not distract you. This is how you'll know it's from God. It won't just elevate you, it will humble you. It will cause you to weep with gratitude because you'll know you didn't force it. You waited for it. But I must warn you, there are counterfeit doors. The enemy loves to offer premature opportunities dressed in the garments of blessing. Just because it's open doesn't mean it's God's door. Test the Spirit. Ask yourself, does this pull me away from God or push me deeper into purpose? Does this bring lasting peace or temporary pleasure? You must be discerning. Every good-looking door is not a God-ordained door. That's why your relationship with God is crucial in this season, so that you recognize His voice above the noise. Some of you are tired because you've been standing in front of doors that were never assigned to you. You've exhausted yourself, begging for things that weren't meant for your destiny. Let go. Step back. Align with God. When you chase after Him, you won't have to chase after doors. They'll open at the sound of your obedience. God is not looking for people who knock the loudest. He's looking for people who trust Him the deepest. And for those of you who've been through deep loss, those who've buried dreams, wept over closed chapters, and questioned your very worth, I declare to you, God is about to redeem the time. You thought it was over. You thought the door had closed for good. But God is the God of restoration. He doesn't just give you what you lost, He gives you better. He opens doors that make you forget the pain of the previous season. The glory that's coming will make the suffering make sense. There are some doors that don't open by effort, they open by favor. And the favor of God is about to rest on you in such a way that what others strive for, you will receive by divine appointment. That promotion, that breakthrough, that opportunity, it's not coming because of your connections. It's coming because of your covenant. You've been hidden on purpose. God was preparing you in obscurity so He could reveal you in victory. And when the door opens, hear me, you must walk through it with boldness. No hesitation, no fear, no turning back. God doesn't bring you this far just to tease you. He brings you this far to transition you. What lies ahead is greater than what you're leaving behind. Stop mourning closed doors. If it closed, it wasn't yours. If it ended, it was meant to. The door in front of you is better than the door behind you. Trust God's direction more than you trust your past. This next door is going to shift everything. Your finances, your family, your mind, your health. It's all connected. When God opens this door, He's not just blessing you, He's blessing everyone connected to you. You're the key. You're the one God chose to walk through first so others can follow. Don't underestimate the power of your obedience. Don't shrink back in false humility. Walk boldly. Walk with purpose. Walk knowing that God has gone before you. And yes, there will be resistance. With every open door comes opposition. But do not fear. The same God who opened the door will guard it. The same hand that unlocked it will protect you as you walk through it. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. The critics will talk. The doubters will rise. The enemy will rage. But nothing and no one can stop a door opened by the hand of God. And some of you listen closely. You're not just waiting for a door, you are the door. You are the opening that God is using to bring change in your family, hope to your community, and revival to dry places. Don't limit yourself to physical opportunities. You are the divine access point through which heaven is about to touch earth. You're not waiting for a platform. You are the platform. You're not waiting for a breakthrough. You are the breakthrough. But before that door opens, make sure your heart is ready. God doesn't just want to elevate your position. He wants to elevate your character. He wants your integrity to match your influence. This is the season to clean house, to forgive, to release bitterness, to repent. Because the door God is about to open requires purity, humility, and focus. The higher the calling, the deeper the consecration. Don't just prepare your hands, prepare your heart. And when that moment comes, when the door cracks open and light floods your darkness, don't forget God. Don't forget the nights you cried, the days you fasted, the battles you fought in secret. Don't let success make you lose the voice that got you there. Stay grounded. Stay grateful. Stay submitted. Because the same God who opens doors is the same God who closes them when pride walks in. This is your season, your time, your appointed moment. All of heaven is leaning forward, waiting to see what you'll do with this divine invitation. Will you step forward in faith or retreat in fear? Will you recognize the door or walk past it distracted? Will you obey God's voice even when it doesn't make sense? I pray you choose obedience. I pray you choose trust, because the door you've been waiting for isn't just about you, it's about destiny. And destiny doesn't wait forever. God is not a man that he should lie. What he promised, he will fulfill. What he started, he will complete. What he declared over your life, he will bring to pass. The door is opening. Can you feel it? Can you sense the shift? This is not hype. This is holy. And if your spirit is aligned, you already know it. This is the moment everything changes. There is a moment in every life when you reach the edge of yourself. You've done all you can. You've prayed, fasted, believed, waited, and even crawled your way forward. Yet the door still seems locked. That is the moment when the test reaches its highest point. That is when the human effort ends and God's power begins. You see, God does not open doors merely because we are tired of waiting. He opens them when the appointed time arrives, when the process has done its work, when the fire is refined, and when your heart is finally in alignment with the purpose He has written for you before you ever drew your first breath. God has always been a God of timing. He is never early. He is never late. His actions do not bend to our impatience, because His plan is not based on our emotions. It is rooted in divine purpose. You may think you've been buried in obscurity, but God has actually planted you. And what is planted must first break before it rises. Do not curse your breaking. Do not resent the season where no one sees you. For it is in the quiet, in the stillness, where God does His most sacred work. The roots grow deep before the fruit appears. And understand this, every closed door was part of His mercy. Every delay was an act of protection. You thought rejection was a curse, but it was God shielding you from what would have destroyed your soul. Not every good thing is a God thing. And sometimes God closes one door to prepare you for something far beyond what you were asking for. That is why your prayers must mature from "give me" to "prepare me." Because when God opens a door, He doesn't want you to just enter it. He wants you to thrive in it. So ask yourself, are you ready for what you've been praying for? Can your character handle the weight of the next level? Can your heart remain pure when favor surrounds you? Because God will not promote what pride will destroy. He's not just opening a door for your comfort. He's opening a door for your calling. And if you're called, you must carry it with humility. This door is not about being seen. It's about fulfilling your purpose. It's about impact. It's about legacy. It's about bringing light where there has only been darkness. And let me tell you something vital. When God opens this door, you won't walk through it alone. His presence will go before you. His wisdom will guide you. His protection will surround you. You won't have to push your way in. You won't have to manipulate or strive. You'll walk through it with a peace that surpasses understanding. That's how you'll know it's from God. It won't feel like chaos. It will feel like clarity. It won't make you anxious. It will settle your spirit. Now, don't misunderstand me. God's doors are not always glamorous. Sometimes the door He opens leads to a battle before it leads to a blessing. Sometimes it comes with resistance, with adversity, with testing. But that does not mean it is not from God. In fact, often the greatest doors are guarded by the greatest trials. Why? Because God doesn't give keys to cowards. He gives them to warriors, to the ones who stayed when it would have been easier to leave, to the ones who trusted when everything said give up, to the ones who still worshiped when their heart was breaking. The enemy cannot stop what God has ordained, but he will try to distract you before the door opens. He'll bring noise, confusion, false opportunities, and emotional storms to pull you away from your place of readiness. But this is the time to stand firm, to silence the voices of doubt, to drown out the noise with the truth of who God is. He is not a God of confusion. He is a God of order, a God of power, a God of completion, and what He started in you, He will finish. There is someone listening right now who feels like everything is falling apart. But in reality, everything is falling into place. The pain is not random. The delay is not meaningless. God is weaving something so intricate, so intentional, that when He finally pulls back the curtain, you will fall to your knees in awe. You'll look back and thank God for every no, every tear, every detour. Because now, standing at the threshold of your door, you'll see the masterpiece that only God could create. This door is not small. It's not average. It's not mediocre. It is a divine gateway to a dimension of your life you've never stepped into before. And it will demand more from you, more discipline, more focus, more sacrifice, but it will also give more to you, more clarity, more peace, more fulfillment than you've ever known. You'll wake up knowing why you're alive. You'll move with conviction. You'll speak with authority, not because of who you are, but because of who sent you. And let me tell you, there are some people who cannot go through this door with you. There are relationships that served a season but cannot survive this next level. You must be willing to leave behind what is familiar to walk into what is divinely prepared. Don't cling to people who no longer align with your purpose. Don't drag the past into a future that God sanctified for your growth. If they had to go, it's because their presence would have poisoned your promise. Let them go and trust that what is waiting behind this door will not just replace what you lost, it will exceed it. I know the weight of waiting. I know the agony of unanswered prayers. But I also know the power of God's timing. And what He's about to do in your life is not small, it's not ordinary, it's not explainable by logic. It's going to make people wonder how you got there. They'll look at you and say, "How did this happen?" And your only response will be, "God opened the door." Because that's the kind of door that leaves no room for pride, only praise. You won't have to defend yourself. You won't have to convince anyone. The fruit will speak for itself. The results will silence the critics. The transformation will be so clear, so profound, that even your enemies will have to admit God's hand is on you. That's the power of a door opened by God. It shuts the mouths of liars and elevates you without explanation. But remember, the door is not the destination. It's a beginning, a launch point, a new chapter. And with every new chapter comes new responsibility. You must steward this opportunity well. You must walk in integrity even when no one is watching. You must remain in alignment with God, not just in public but in private, because the same God who opens the door is watching how you walk through it. This is sacred. This is holy. And you've been chosen not because you are the most talented, the most connected, or the most experienced, but because God saw your heart. He saw the way you honored Him when no one else did. He saw the way you stayed loyal in the wilderness. And now, He's about to reward what only He saw. This is divine reward, not earned but granted, not forced but released in due season. The earth may not celebrate you, the world may not applaud you, but heaven is watching. Heaven is moving. And when heaven moves, no force on earth can stand in the way. This is more than an opportunity. It is a divine shift, and you must move with it. You must prepare not just for what's coming, but for who you must become when it arrives. God is not giving you a door to remain the same. He's giving you a door so that He can bring forth the version of you that He always intended. Let your posture be one of humility. Let your spirit remain teachable. Let your life be a vessel through which God can shine. The door is coming, and when it opens, it will confirm what your spirit has already known: that you were never forgotten, that you were never forsaken, that God was working all along, that this was not just your desire, it was His plan. When God opens the door you've been waiting for, it won't simply be an opportunity. It will be a divine appointment, an intersection between your obedience and His unmatched authority. And in that moment, your life will no longer be measured by what you lost, but by what you stepped into. You've been walking through the shadows of uncertainty for too long, but now the light of God's timing is about to break through with undeniable force. Not because you demanded it, but because you were developed for it. God does not honor entitlement. He honors endurance. You endured. You remained faithful. And now the heavens are preparing to release what your faith has already received. Understand this. What lies behind the door is not just for you. It is for those connected to your life. God is not only opening this door for your blessing, but for the breakthrough of others who will witness what He has done through you. Your story is about to become someone else's survival guide. Your testimony is about to shake someone else free from their chains, because God uses doors not just to advance individuals, but to advance His will in the earth through surrendered vessels. And make no mistake, you are being positioned as a vessel, a living, breathing instrument of His mercy, power, and glory. Do not confuse this divine moment with mere human success. The world chases platforms and praise, but the door God opens leads to something deeper. It leads to assignment, to sacred responsibility, to walking in what you were born to carry. You will not walk through to applause. You will walk through with authority. And authority does not come from men, it comes from God. From the fire you survived, from the prayers you cried, from the nights you bled in silence, holding on to promises that hadn't yet manifested. Some of you have been walking in circles, feeling forgotten, dismissed, abandoned, but your steps were not in vain. God is not a God of wasted journeys. Every delay, every detour, every disappointment was God weaving together a foundation that could carry the weight of what's about to be revealed. If that door had opened earlier, you might have stepped through with pride, with ego, and with wounds still unhealed. But now you are whole. You are wiser. You have been shaped by fire, not by flattery. You are prepared. This coming season is not about striving. It is about receiving. When God acts, it is not through prediction. It is through command. He speaks and everything shifts. He declares and doors swing open without resistance. What you once struggled to earn through effort will now come with ease. Not because it is simple, but because it is divinely ordained. And when something is ordained by God, it no longer relies on man's approval or permission. Let that truth settle deep within you. No one can block what God has already decreed. Some watched you fall and believed it was the end. But they forgot that God does His greatest work in the soil of brokenness. They forgot that seeds must be buried before they bloom. They misjudged your silence, unaware that it was God who chose to keep you hidden. For before He reveals, He refines. Before He elevates, He establishes. And now your season of refining has grown roots so deep that no storm can tear them out. You are not simply rising, you are rising with unshakable foundation. And let me say this with urgency. Do not wait for perfect conditions to walk through your door. If you're waiting to feel qualified, to feel ready, to have it all together, you'll delay the very thing God has been preparing for you. God does not require perfection. He requires obedience. When the door opens, walk. When the call comes, answer. When the opportunity presents itself, move. Because obedience is the language that opens realms far beyond what effort could ever touch. When God says go, go, even if your knees are shaking, because trust is not about clarity. It's about confidence in the one who is guiding you. And what if I told you that the door God is about to open is not even the one you were expecting? Because sometimes we pray for doors we understand, but God opens doors we didn't even know we needed. You ask for provision, and He's opening a door to purpose. You ask for healing, and He's opening a door to wholeness. You ask for success, but He's giving you significance. God doesn't answer small-minded prayers with small blessings. He answers them with transformative destiny. And that is why you must let go of your limited vision. You must release the expectation that the blessing will look like your plan. God's thoughts are not your thoughts. His ways are higher, deeper, stronger. If the door doesn't look like what you imagine, trust Him anyway. If it feels unfamiliar, walk through anyway. If it leads you into uncomfortable territory, follow Him anyway. Because the safest place to be is not in what is familiar, but in what is God ordained. Many of you are standing at the edge of answered prayer, but fear is whispering in your ear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping into something bigger than yourself. But listen closely. Fear has no authority where God has given you command. Fear is the thief of destiny, and it is silenced not by self-confidence but by God confidence. Speak to your fear. Tell it that it can't follow you through the door. Tell it that it has no place in the future God is calling you into. You didn't survive all that you've been through just to be held back by the ghost of doubt. The door's coming and you must be ready. Ready in your spirit, ready in your mind, ready in your heart. Because when it opens, you won't have time to prepare. You'll have to respond. And God has already prepared you in secret for what He is about to do in public. The conversations you had with Him in silence, the ones no one heard, the cries, the groanings, the surrendered moments, they are about to produce fruit before all to see. But do not get caught up in the visibility. God is not elevating you to be seen. He's elevating you to serve. And the higher you go, the more surrendered you must be. So let humility be your anchor. Let gratitude be your song. Let reverence for God be the compass that keeps your soul aligned. For the greatest tragedy is not a door that remains closed, but a door that is opened and mishandled. You must walk through with eyes fixed on God, ears tuned to His whisper, and a heart that beats not for glory, but for obedience, because this is holy ground. This is sacred territory, and what God is entrusting to you must not be taken lightly. Do not rush. Do not panic. Do not compare your journey to others. God's timing is tailored. His preparation is specific. And when He opens your door, it won't look like anyone else's because it was designed for you. And the beauty of God's door is this: it fits only your obedience. No one else can walk through it. No one else can claim it. No one else can block it. Because when God opens a door, it's sealed with His authority. And no force in the heavens or the earth can override His command. And hear this deep in your spirit. When God opens the door you've been waiting for, it will not come to validate your ego. It will come to fulfill His plan. You are not the center of the blessing. God is. You are not the author of the breakthrough. God is. And that is what makes it sacred. The door is not about your status, your image, or your self-worth. It is about being positioned where God can manifest His power through your life. It is about becoming the evidence of what happens when someone refuses to let go of faith. Even when it hurts, even when it's lonely, even when it feels like nothing is moving, you are not being rewarded for perfection. You are being trusted with purpose. God opens doors not because we've earned them, but because He sees we are now aligned with His will. The door represents more than change. It represents trust. God is entrusting you with something that carries weight. This is not lightweight favor. This is kingdom-level responsibility. So your prayer must shift. No longer God just open the door, but God prepare me to carry what's behind it. Because if He opens it and you aren't ready, what was meant to elevate you could overwhelm you. And God is too wise to give a crown to someone who has not yet learned how to carry the weight of surrender. Let this be a time where your inner life becomes stronger than your outer performance. God is not impressed by your public words. He is moved by your private obedience. He is watching the way you handle the quiet seasons, the invisible work, the unseen sacrifices. And that is what determines what doors open, Not noise, not fame, not applause, but character forged in the silence of surrender. You may think no one sees the way you've obeyed God when it cost you everything, but God sees. And He is the one who holds the key to your future. There are no shortcuts to divine doors. You cannot manipulate your way into what God has ordained. You cannot rush what God is still preparing. Some have tried to build their own doors, carve out their own paths, but anything man-made will eventually collapse under pressure. Only what God opens can withstand the shaking of life. Only what God builds will stand through storms. This is why you must be patient. This is why you must be rooted, so that when the door opens, you are not standing on sand, but on solid foundation. There are going to be voices that rise against your blessing. People will question how you got here. They will try to attach your elevation to natural explanations. But don't waste your time trying to prove your process. Let the fruit speak for itself. Let your life testify. Let the undeniable hand of God upon you silence every doubter and every critic. Because when God opens the door, even those who oppose you will be forced to acknowledge that only God could have done it. And some of you, listen closely. You are not just about to walk through a door. You are about to become a door. A door for others to walk through. A living gateway to hope, to restoration, to wisdom. Your life will open the way for people who thought it was too late. You are carrying more than you realize. God has been using your trials to build a voice that carries authority, a presence that shifts atmospheres, a story that breaks chains. You thought you were being crushed, but you were being commissioned. You thought you were losing, but God was reshaping you into a vessel of breakthrough. And when the door opens, walk with quiet confidence, not arrogance, not self-reliance, but confidence rooted in your trust in God. Don't minimize the miracle by acting like you don't belong. You do belong because God brought you there. You are not intruding. You are assigned. This is not about feelings. It's about calling. It's about knowing deep in your soul that if God opened the door, He has already equipped you to walk through it. You may feel afraid, but courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward while trusting the God who goes before you. This is not a door into comfort. It's a door into calling. God is not making your life easier. He's making it eternally effective. He's shifting your focus from comfort to impact, from safety to surrender, from routine to revelation. The days of small thinking are over. The days of shrinking back are behind you. God is calling you to rise, to move, to advance, not in pride, but in power, not in noise, but in depth. Because you were born to carry something sacred, and now is the moment for it to be revealed. There are some listening who've been disqualifying themselves for years. You've believed the lie that your past mistakes have blocked your future promise. But hear me with every fiber of your spirit. God redeems. God restores. God rebuilds what man calls ruin. No one is too far gone. No mistake is beyond repair. If your heart is surrendered, if your spirit is humble, then nothing can disqualify what God has qualified. The door you thought was closed forever, it's still under God's authority. It's not too late. You're not too old. You're not too broken. You're just in time for what God has appointed. So lift your eyes, square your shoulders. Let the fire of expectation rise again. Let your hope be reawakened. The same God who led you through the valley will lead you through the doorway. The same power that sustained you in the wilderness will carry you into the promise. You don't have to force it. You don't have to strive. Just stay close to God. Stay in alignment. Stay in faith, because the key to the door is not in your hand. It's in God's hand. And He opens what no man can shut. When that moment comes, when the atmosphere shifts, when the door cracks open, respond with boldness. Don't hesitate. Don't overthink. Don't look around for validation. If God brought you to it, walk through it. Don't ask for opinions. Don't wait for consensus. Obedience doesn't require a committee. It requires conviction. This is your appointed time. You've been through too much, cried too long, fought too hard to stand still now. This is not the season to look back. This is not the season to second guess. This is the season to step forward. And as you move, keep your eyes on the one who opened the way. Don't become distracted by the success. Don't become addicted to the applause. Stay grounded. Stay low. Stay prayerful. The blessing is not the destination. It's the beginning of a greater walk with God. The more He gives you, the more you must depend on Him. The higher He takes you, the more you must remain rooted in humility. Because the door is not the reward. God Himself is the reward. This moment that you are entering is not just a season. It is a summoning, a divine calling from the Almighty that now is the time to rise. Not in pride, but in purpose. Not for spotlight, but for sacred duty. The door God is about to open in your life is not a reward for survival. It is an assignment for destiny. And when He opens it, it will not look like man's definition of success. It will not be packaged with glitter or adorned in applause. It will come wrapped in obedience, marked by clarity, and dripping with the unmistakable presence of God's will. Do not think for one moment that this door is small. God does not deal in smallness. Even when it looks humble in the eyes of the world, when it seems unnoticed or insignificant, anything touched by God becomes great. Anything connected to His purpose carries eternal weight. What man overlooks, God overflows. What man devalues, God exalts. This is why you cannot allow your eyes to judge the size of the opening. The door may appear narrow, but it leads into a wider place of divine expansion where your influence will multiply and your purpose will stretch further than your mind ever imagined. This is where faith must lead you. Not your feelings, not your fears, not the opinions of those who have no revelation of what God has been doing in your spirit. God has not called you to blend in. He has called you to break through cycles that have kept your family bound, to break through mindsets that have kept you limited, to break through the noise of this world and walk in the still, strong voice of divine instruction. And the only way to break through is to obey without hesitation. There will be moments where what God asks you to do doesn't make sense. He may open a door that leads to unfamiliar territory, a place where you feel underqualified, overlooked, or misunderstood. But those are the places where God shows Himself strongest. He doesn't bring you into the open so you can rely on your intellect. He brings you so that you will lean entirely on Him. And when you do, what was uncertain becomes unstoppable. What was confusing becomes crystal clear because faith sharpens your spiritual vision and tunes your ears to the rhythm of God's will. Some of you are still trying to carry yesterday's burdens through a door that requires freedom. Let them go. You cannot walk into what God has for you if your hands are full of resentment, bitterness, or old regrets. God does not open the door to a new chapter so you can rewrite the old one. He opens it to write something fresh, something anointed, something eternal. You must release what is expired so you can embrace what is divine. Let go of what hurt you. Let go of what confused you. Let go of what didn't work. Because what's coming will make sense of every no that once broke your heart. And do not be surprised when the door God opens leads not only to elevation, but to separation. Yes, separation. Because not everyone can walk with you into the next dimension of purpose. There are voices you will have to silence. There are places you will have to leave. There are habits that cannot survive in the presence of divine movement. If God is calling you higher, then you must shed what is lower. This is not punishment, it is protection. This is not rejection, it is refinement. God is not trying to take something from you. He's trying to make room for something greater. You are being refined not for popularity, but for purity. You are being prepared not for noise, but for power. And the power that comes from God does not boast. It builds. It builds families. It builds generations. It builds legacies that echo long after your footsteps are gone. This is what the open door is about. It is not for your name to be praised, but for God's will to be fulfilled through your yielded life. And understand this, when God opens the door, the attack may intensify. Do not mistake resistance for misdirection. Sometimes the moment you step into purpose, the pressure increases. But pressure is not a sign to retreat it. It is a sign that you have entered the realm of impact. If there is no resistance, you're probably not taking any ground. So don't flinch, don't fold. Stand firm, because the same God who opens the door will sustain you through it. You do not need to manufacture strength. He will be your strength. There are levels to favor. There are levels to calling. And you are stepping into a level that cannot be reached by talent alone. It cannot be sustained by charisma. It cannot be faked. This next level requires anointing. And the anointing is not purchased with applause. It is purchased with surrender, with fasting, with late nights of crying out to God when no one else is watching. It is purchased with obedience when it hurts, with integrity when it's not convenient, with silence when you could have defended yourself, but chose to let God speak for you instead. This is not about chasing doors. Stop chasing. Stop knocking on what God has closed. The door that's opening for you will not require compromise. It will not require begging. It will not require manipulation. It will open because it was already written into the timeline of your life before you were born. God saw you in your mother's womb and ordained this moment. You are not standing here by luck. You are standing here by design. You didn't stumble into destiny. You were summoned by it. And for the one who feels unworthy, let me speak directly to your soul. God does not call the perfect. He calls the willing. Your scars do not disqualify you. Your past does not cancel your future. Your mistakes do not outweigh God's mercy. If anything, your brokenness has prepared you more than you realize, because it is the broken vessel that pours best. It is the humbled heart that hears clearest. It is the life surrendered in pieces that God loves to make whole, because in the restoration He receives all the glory. So rise with reverence. Rise with expectation. Rise knowing that what's coming cannot be stopped, delayed, or denied, not by any force of man, not by any voice of the enemy, not even by your own doubt. When God commands the door to open, it must open. And when it does, you will walk into rooms that your resume couldn't get you into. You will be seated at tables where you were once overlooked. You will receive opportunities that were beyond your qualifications, because this is not about merit. It is about mandate. God has spoken, and His word will not return void. And so prepare yourself. Prepare not just externally, but inwardly. Let your spirit be sharp. Let your discernment be heightened. Let your dependence on God be deeper than ever before. Because what you're about to step into is not ordinary. It is not common. It is not something you can explain. It is divine. You will know it. You will feel it. You will walk in it. And when you do, your life will never be the same. This is the moment you've prayed for, wept over, fasted for, dreamed of. And it is here. The door is opening. And when it does, it will be the undeniable move of God alone. So now stand still in your spirit, but strong in your faith. You have not waited in vain. You have not cried for nothing. The silence was never absence. It was preparation. The delay was never denial. It was divine alignment. God is not slow. He is strategic. The heavens are moving. A new season is unfolding. What once remained sealed is now being commanded to open. That very thing you nearly surrendered is about to rise from the ashes, stronger, clearer, and filled with greater purpose than you ever dreamed. When that doorway swings wide, you will know without a doubt it was God's hand. You will not hesitate. You will not be left uncertain. You will step forward with a heart that trembles, yet feet that remain steady. For every hardship shaped you for this moment. Every whispered prayer laid the foundation. Why? Every hidden battle built the strength within you. This is not the hour to shrink back. This is the hour to rise and answer. Lift your gaze. Fill your lungs with breath. Silence the lies of doubt. The door will open not by human effort, but by the sovereign will of the Almighty. And when it does, walk into it not with fear, but with faith. For this is more than a breakthrough. This is the unveiling of who you were meant to become. God knows you are exhausted. He sees it. He feels it. He understands the weight you're carrying, the silent battles you fight, and the countless nights you lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering when the storm will pass. This is more than just a word of comfort. It is a divine confirmation. The pain you've endured has not escaped the notice of the one who made the heavens and the earth. The tears you've shed in secret are known to Him, and He has collected every drop. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. And I am here to tell you today, God is about to step in. When your strength is gone, when your prayers feel unanswered, when your faith seems to be hanging by a thread, God is still in control. God does not sleep. God does not grow weary. And though you may feel as if your back is against the wall, He is already preparing the breakthrough. The tiredness you feel is not weakness. It is the sign of a soul that has carried much, fought long, and trusted deeply. And God honors that trust. He honors that persistence. You're not going under. You're rising. You're not being buried. You're being planted for something far greater than you could imagine. You may be asking, why has it taken so long? Why have I had to go through so much? Because the greater the weight, the greater the purpose. God allows the struggle not to destroy you, but to prepare you. The weariness is not your end. It is the place where God begins. It is in that place of exhaustion, when you can no longer rely on your own strength, that God reveals His. When the flesh has failed and the will has withered, that's when God shows up in power. Don't think for a moment that God has left you, even when it feels like heaven is silent. He is watching. He is measuring. He is orchestrating something far bigger than you can see. You've come through sleepless nights, through heartbreak, through confusion and fear, and yet you are still standing. That is not an accident. That is God's hand. And if He brought you this far, He will carry you the rest of the way. You are not fighting alone. The very power that created the sun and commands the stars is surrounding you. And when you are at your lowest, God is at His highest. God is closest to those whose hearts are broken, whose spirits are crushed, whose strength is gone. He leans in when the world walks away. He lifts up when others push down. And right now, God is leaning toward you with a plan in His hand and power in His breath. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not too broken, too old, too tired, or too far gone. You are exactly where you need to be for God to show up and show out. And when He steps in, everything changes. He is not bound by time. He is not limited by human logic. He doesn't need the approval of people to move on your behalf. When God says it's your time, no one can stop Him. This tired season of your life is not the end of your story. It is the hallway before the door opens. It is the silence before the shift. God is not done with you. He is just getting started. You may have lost some things, some people, some years, but you have not lost your purpose. You have not lost your destiny. And though you are tired, your strength is not your own. God is your strength, and He will lift you up when you can't lift yourself. You may feel like giving up, but God says, hold on. You may feel like you've prayed and nothing has changed, but God says, wait, because the moment you think it's over is the exact moment God begins to move. He allows you to reach the end of yourself so that you can discover the beginning of His power. He strips away every false hope until you're leaning on nothing but Him. And that is when miracles happen. This is not just motivation. This is revelation. This is God speaking to the depths of your soul. You've been tired in your body, tired in your mind, tired in your spirit, but God is about to breathe new wind into your sails. The enemy has tried to exhaust you so that you'll settle for less than what God has for you. But the fact that you are still standing is proof that He failed. The fact that you're still listening is proof that your story is not over. And what's coming is greater than what you lost. God has seen every sacrifice you made in silence. He has witnessed the patience you've shown when others misunderstood you. He knows the way you've chosen righteousness when it would have been easier to choose revenge. He sees the way you keep showing up even when you feel empty inside. And for all of that, God is about to reward you. You have sown in tears, and now you are about to reap in joy. Don't be ashamed of your exhaustion. It's a holy exhaustion. It comes from standing firm in a world that keeps trying to shake you. It comes from carrying burdens you didn't ask for but handled anyway. It comes from walking through seasons that broke others but couldn't break you. And now that tiredness is about to be exchanged for divine strength. God is about to lift you, carry you, and restore everything the enemy tried to drain from your life. You didn't survive just to survive. You survived because God still has something for you to do. There is still a blessing to receive, a life to live, a calling to fulfill. God is not finished with you. He has seen the nights you couldn't sleep. He's heard the cries you couldn't put into words. He knows the battles you never told anyone about. And He's stepping in not with a whisper, but with a thunder. Not with a suggestion, but with power. He is the God who changes everything in a moment. Your weariness is not a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you fought long and hard. And God is proud of you. You didn't quit. You didn't give in. You didn't run away. And for that, a new strength is coming. A supernatural peace is coming. Doors are about to open that no man can shut. Help is coming from places you didn't expect. God is about to make a way where there was no way. You may have felt like God was distant, but He's been closer than ever. He's been holding you together when everything around you was falling apart. And now He's getting ready to step in, not just to comfort you, but to change everything around you. You've carried the weight long enough. You've cried long enough. You've endured long enough. Now comes the shift. You didn't lose because you were weak. You endured because God gave you the strength to survive the storm. You didn't fail because you felt tired. You passed the test because you stayed faithful when it was hard. And now everything you lost in the fire, God is about to return in double. You're not at the end. You're at the edge of a divine encounter. There is a sacred moment coming, a divine interruption. God is stepping into your tiredness with restoration in His hand. And when He steps in, your enemies will scatter. Your fears will vanish. Your doubts will be silenced. What you've been praying for will begin to manifest, and the tired version of you will be transformed into a vessel of power, peace, and purpose. Let the world say what it wants. Let the critics scoff. Let the doubters doubt. But you know what God whispered to your heart. You know the promise He gave you in the secret place. And He is not a God who lies. If He said He would do it, He will. If He said He would deliver you, better believe He's on His way. So don't give up now. Don't let the tiredness pull you into despair. God is closer than your next breath. He is near to the brokenhearted. He saves those who are crushed in spirit. And He is about to lift your head and strengthen your bones. What felt like the end will be the beginning of something extraordinary. What felt like defeat will be revealed as preparation for victory. God is not late. He's right on time. And just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. His timing is not ours, but His timing is perfect. And when He moves in such a way that no one can take the credit but Him. He will show up in such power that you'll say only God could have done this. And yes, you are tired. But tired does not mean defeated. Tired does not mean forsaken. It means you've walked long enough for God to finally say, "Rest, my child, now let me take over." You've leaned on your own understanding long enough. Now God is saying, "Let me carry you. Let me fight for you. Let me open the doors you could never open." He is not just the God of the beginning. He is the God who steps into the middle, who walks with you through the valley, who strengthens you on the battlefield, and who brings you out with more than you had before. You may feel like you've been wandering for years, but God is about to bring you into your promised place. You may have lost count of how many times you wanted to quit, but God counted every time you stayed. And now, the reward is near. The breakthrough is near. The divine shift is near. You are not alone. You are not powerless. You are not done. You are God's child, and He is about to step in. He is about to take your hand, lift your spirit, and remind you that you are still His, and He has never let go. He never will. Keep standing. Keep trusting. Keep believing, because God is about to show you that everything you went through was not for nothing. It was for this moment, this divine intersection, where heaven meets earth, where exhaustion meets restoration, and where your tired soul meets the unlimited power of God. God is not merely aware of your pain, He is deeply involved in your process. You see, God is not a distant observer, casually watching your struggle unfold from afar. No, God is intricately present in your suffering, walking with you through every valley, guiding your footsteps through every wilderness. Your tears do not fall into nothingness. They fall into the hands of the Almighty, who counts each one and stores them as seeds for a future harvest of joy. You are not alone in your tiredness. God is in it with you. And not only is He with you, He is about to lift you out of it. There are moments in life when exhaustion doesn't come from physical labor, but from carrying emotional burdens that have worn your soul thin. You've smiled through the pain. You've kept quiet when your heart was breaking. You've stood tall when everything inside you was crumbling. And now God is saying, enough! You've done all you can. Now watch what I will do. This is the kind of exhaustion that attracts divine intervention. When you have nothing left, that is when God begins to show you just how much He has in store for you. The silence you've experienced was not abandonment. It was a divine pause. God often becomes silent when He is preparing something sacred. The soil doesn't make noise while it's growing the seed, but deep inside, something is happening in your stillness. God has been rearranging, reshaping, and renewing things that you cannot yet see. Just because you don't hear God doesn't mean He's not working. His silence is not absence. It is preparation. And now that preparation is about to produce manifestation, when your spirit groans under the weight of battles you don't even have words for, God hears it louder than any spoken prayer. When you've reached that sacred place of brokenness, when all your strength has run dry and you fall into the arms of faith, that's when God says, now, let me show you who I am. The weakness you feel is the gateway for God's strength to be revealed. The delay you hate is the doorway through which God brings greater clarity, deeper wisdom, and stronger resolve. You've been tired not just from the trials of life, but from trying to be strong for everyone around you. You've carried others. You've encouraged when you needed encouragement. You gave when you were empty. You stood firm when others fell apart. And though no one clapped for your endurance, God saw it. And God is about to reward the battles you fought in silence. He is about to reward the kindness you gave without expectation. He is about to reward the humility you showed when you could have retaliated. There is a quiet power that comes when your strength is gone and all you can do is whisper, God, help me. That whisper shakes the heavens. That whisper summons divine attention. God does not ignore the faint cry of a weary soul, and He does not turn away from those who have reached the end of themselves. In fact, that's where He does His best work. When human strength is gone, when logic has no more solutions, when the night feels endless, that is the soil where divine miracles grow. There is a beauty in being tired after doing what is right. There is a sacredness in being exhausted from obedience, not from rebellion. When you get tired from pursuing truth, from showing mercy, from resisting temptation, from holding on to faith, that kind of tiredness is precious in the eyes of God because it means you've been fighting the good fight. and those who fight the good fight are never forgotten. God will vindicate your struggle. He will crown your consistency. He will multiply what you thought was wasted. Do not let the enemy lie to you in your tiredness. Do not believe the whispers that tell you God has left, that your prayers are empty, that your labor has been in vain. The enemy always shouts the loudest before God breaks through. He tries to get you to quit right before the door opens. But God is not a man that he should lie, nor does he forget the labor of love shown in his name. The reward is coming not because of your strength, but because of your surrender. You must understand something deep in your spirit. When God steps in, he doesn't patch what's broken, he makes it new. He doesn't just restore what was lost, he increases what remains. He doesn't just heal your pain, he transforms your heart. That's the kind of breakthrough that is coming for you. You will not just recover, you will rise. You will not just survive, you will shine. Because God is not content with just bringing you back to where you were. He is taking you somewhere you've never been. This weariness is not a sign of failure, for it is a sign that you have reached the edge of divine involvement. It is a sacred exhaustion that precedes a holy encounter. You've tried everything in your power. You've knocked on every door. You've cried every tear. And now you are standing on the edge of a moment that will shift the entire trajectory of your life. God is about to act. God is about to release what has been held back. God is about to shift the weight off your shoulders and place peace into your heart. You don't need to see how it's going to happen. You just need to trust that it will, because God doesn't reveal every step. He reveals his presence. And his presence is enough to walk through the fire without being burned. His presence is enough to stand in the storm and not be moved. His presence is enough to calm the chaos within you. Even if the chaos around you remains, there is power in trusting God when you're tired. That kind of trust breaks strongholds. That kind of faith invites divine acceleration. You've waited long enough. You've wept long enough. Now it is time to believe again. Not because you feel strong, but because God is your strength. And when he moves, he does it in a way that makes the tired worth it. He brings such peace that you forget the storm. He brings such favor that you forget the struggle. He brings such clarity that you understand why the waiting had to happen. What you thought was the breaking point will become the turning point. What you thought was a setback will be revealed as a setup. What you thought was the end will be the beginning of something far greater. That's how God works. He doesn't just fix your life, he transforms it. He doesn't just answer your prayers, he exceeds them. He doesn't just step in to help, he steps in to take over. So if you feel like you're at the end of your rope, don't despair. That's exactly where God wants you to be, not so you'll suffer, but so you'll finally release control. God doesn't need your strength. He needs your surrender. Let go of the anxiety. Let go of the fear. Let go of trying to figure it all out. Rest in the knowledge that God is still writing your story, and the chapter you're entering will not look like the one you're leaving behind. You are not what the world says you are. You are not what your past says you are. You are what God says you are called, chosen, protected, guided, and sustained. You are a vessel of purpose, and even in your tiredness, you are being prepared for something divine. God will use your exhaustion to deepen your reliance, to sharpen your focus, and to enlarge your capacity. And when he steps in, the tiredness will turn into testimony. No moment of pain has been wasted. No sleepless night has gone unnoticed. Every cry, every ache, every sigh that escaped your lips has moved the heart of God. And now the heavens are responding. The season is shifting. The clouds are parting, and the light of divine intervention is about to shine upon your path. Not because you were strong enough, but because you trusted enough. That's the kind of strength God is giving you now. Not the strength to carry the weight, but the strength to let Him carry it for you. Not the strength to keep fighting alone, but the strength to believe that help is on the way. And that help doesn't come from people, from systems, or from circumstances. It comes from God alone. You've come through fire. You've come through flood. And you're still standing. You didn't lose your mind. You didn't quit. You didn't sink. That's not by accident. That's because God held you when you couldn't hold yourself. And He's not about to let go now. In fact, He's stepping in stronger than ever before. There comes a time when the soul cries not for answers, but for relief, not for explanations, but for peace. You've crossed deserts with a heart full of faith. You've climbed mountains with trembling hands, hoping that the top would bring rest. And now you stand here worn out, not because you failed, but because you kept going. And in that fatigue, God sees something beautiful. Not weakness, not defeat, but a vessel emptied and ready to be filled. You are not collapsing. You are being cleared of every weight so that the glory of God can take over and carry you farther than your strength ever could. You have not missed your moment. The delays, the setbacks, the unanswered prayers, they were not signs that God forgot you. They were divine shields protecting you from what you could not yet see. Every no was a wall keeping destruction out. Every closed door was the hand of God saying, not this way, not yet. And now, as you stand on the edge of weariness, God is saying, I am the one who kept you from walking into a trap. I am the one who preserved your soul. Now watch how I lift you in my perfect timing. You may be looking around at others who seem to be thriving while you are barely surviving. But don't confuse movement with progress. God has kept you in the waiting room not to punish you, but to prepare you. What He's about to do in your life will require a foundation so deep, so secure that only a long season of refinement could have produced it. And now that foundation is set, the winds have blown, the rains have come, but you are still rooted. You are still here. And because of this, God is preparing to build something extraordinary upon the foundation of your perseverance. Do not lose heart over how slowly things seem to move. A tree does not break through the earth overnight. Its roots dig deep in silence long before its branches reach toward the heavens. In the very same way, your growth has been unfolding quietly in hidden places where no one else can see. That unseen root system, watered by your tears, nourished by your faith, and anchored by your trials, has kept you steady through every storm. Now you are prepared to rise not because of what others notice, but because of what God already knows lives within you. The enemy would have you believe that exhaustion makes you unworthy. Yet God takes the weary to reveal to the world what His strength truly looks like. When He steps in, He does not pick those with polished lives and flawless plans. He chooses the tired, the battle-scarred, the ones who have walked through the fire and refused to bow. And as long as you still draw breath, it means you are still chosen, still called, still destined for the greatness God set apart for you before time began. Your weariness has not disqualified you, and it has prepared you. There is a kind of tiredness that strips away pride, ego, and self-reliance. And when that is gone, all that remains is pure trust. That is the place God has brought you to. Not to crush you, but to reveal Himself to you in ways you could never have understood when you were strong. God reveals the depths of His power to those who are low, not those who are lofty. And in your tiredness, you are standing on sacred ground. You don't need to pretend anymore. You don't need to wear the mask of strength. God is not moved by performance. He is moved by surrender. And when you surrender your exhaustion to Him, He exchanges it for a power that cannot be explained, a peace that confounds logic, a strength that defies circumstances. God is not looking for perfect people. He is looking for honest ones, ones who say, "I can't do this anymore, but I know you can." That is when divine power is released, not through might, not through intellect, but through faith rooted in humility. You've walked long enough carrying the expectations of others. You've carried burdens that were never yours to carry. You've tried to be everything to everyone. But now God is calling you back to a place of divine alignment, a place where your soul rests not in what you do, but in who He is. You were never meant to carry the world on your shoulders. That is God's job. And the moment you place those weights back into His hands, He will begin to move on your behalf in ways that no effort could ever achieve. This is not about striving. This is about trusting. God is not impressed by how hard you work to hold it all together. He is glorified when you lay it down and say, "I trust you to hold me." That kind of trust moves mountains. That kind of trust splits seas. That kind of trust turns weariness into worship. Because when you stop running and start resting in God, He begins to show you that the breakthrough was never in your effort. It was always in your surrender. And now that surrender is opening the gates of divine intervention. The heavens are shifting. The tide is turning. The season is changing because God honors the faith of those who remain faithful in the dry place. You've prayed with cracked lips. You've walked when you felt like crawling. And now the clouds are gathering, not to bring more storms, but to rain down the blessings you've long awaited. This is the moment God takes your ashes and gives you beauty. This is the moment He turns mourning into purpose. God does not rush the process. He perfects it. And your process, as painful and long as it has been, is not without purpose. Every delay has refined your focus. Every disappointment has deepened your dependence. Every hardship has increased your hunger for something more than this world can offer. And that hunger, when directed toward God, unlocks realms of strength, wisdom, and revelation that only come through the fire. You are not stepping into this next season with old strength. God is giving you something new, not recycled energy. Not surface-level encouragement, but deep spiritual power that anchors your soul in the truth that God is your sustainer. When the world shakes, you will not fall. When others lose their way, you will stand firm. Not because of who you are, but because of who your God is. Let the tiredness you feel remind you that you have given everything you had. Let it also remind you that now it is God's turn. You've done all you can do. You've prayed, you've waited, you've believed, and now God is saying, "Be still, let me be God." He is stepping into the very places where your hands have come up empty. He is stepping into the rooms where your voice was ignored. He is stepping into the chapters of your life that seemed unfinished, and He is writing a new ending. This is a divine promise. What is coming will make sense of what you've been through. What is ahead will redeem what was lost. And you will not just walk into it. You will walk in it with a peace that surpasses understanding. Because when God steps in, He doesn't just change your situation, He changes your perspective. He teaches you how to live above your circumstances, how to dwell in contentment even in chaos, and how to recognize His fingerprints in places others only see confusion. So stand firm even if your knees are shaking. Lift your head even if your heart is heavy, because your tiredness is not the end. It is the invitation. It is the signal that God is about to show Himself mighty. And when He does, you will look back on this season, not with regret, but with awe. You will say it was worth it. Every tear, every ache, every sleepless night, because it brought me to the feet of the Almighty. And when I was at my lowest, God lifted me with a strength not my own. You are on the edge of something sacred. Don't let the fatigue fool you. The enemy always attacks the hardest right before the breakthrough. He tries to confuse your vision, discourage your heart, and drain your hope. But he cannot stop what God has ordained. He cannot delay what God has decreed. You are still under divine covering. And no weapon formed against you shall prosper, not even the weapon of exhaustion. You will rest again, not just physically, but spiritually. You will breathe again without the weight of the world on your chest. You will walk again with joy in your step and peace in your heart. And it won't be because the road got easier, but because God made you stronger. Not by force, not by might, but by the power of trust in the one who holds your life in His hands. Let every heavy burden now be lifted. Let every silent fear now be stilled. Let every doubt now be drowned in the truth that God is not only aware of your tiredness, He is actively responding to it. He is already stepping into your tomorrow. He is already ahead of you, clearing paths, softening hearts, opening doors, and making crooked places straight. You are not late. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where God needs you to be for His power to be made perfect in your surrender and His glory to be revealed in your testimony. And that testimony will not be one of strength that never failed, but of a soul that, though weary, was held together by the hand of God until the appointed time of victory. And now, in the stillness of your soul, listen, truly listen. For there is a whisper from heaven rising louder than the noise of your doubts. A whisper that says, I have seen your labor. I have heard your cry. I have not turned my face from you, and I will not delay. That is God speaking to you not as a distant ruler, but as the one who fashioned your spirit, the one who walked with you through the fire, and the one who stands ready to pour out power where there was once only pain. You did not come this far to be abandoned. You did not fight all these battles just to be left in the dark. God has carried you through what others did not survive. You have endured in silence what would have destroyed the strongest among men. And now God is ready to repay every hour you stood alone, every moment you trusted Him, when all evidence said otherwise. This is not just a season of restoration. It is a season of divine reversal. Where there was loss, gain will come. Where there was shame, honor will arise. Where you were cast down, God will raise you up. You see, God is not bound by the reports of man, and God does not answer to opinions, to predictions, or to statistics. When He decides to move in your life, it won't matter who counted you out. It won't matter who turned their back on you. God has the final word. And when His word goes forth, it never returns void. When He commands doors to open, no man can shut them. When He declares favor over your life, even your enemies will have to stand aside and watch it unfold. Some of you are tired because you've been trying to fight spiritual battles with natural weapons. You've been using intellect where God required surrender. You've been pushing with effort where He's asking for stillness. You've been trying to do it your way, thinking God was taking too long. But in truth, God was waiting for your hands to release what only His hands can fix. You can't carry the weight of destiny and the burden of control at the same time. At some point, you must lay it down and say, God, I trust your way even when I don't understand your timing. And it's in that moment when you let go that God begins to pour in. Not just blessings, but clarity. Not just answers, but peace. He will not only fix the situation, He will transform you in the process. Because God is not just interested in changing your surroundings. He wants to strengthen the one standing in the middle of the storm. He wants to turn your tiredness into testimony, your waiting into wisdom, your pain into purpose. The fatigue you feel is not just from the load. It's from the hidden battle beneath the load. The thoughts you've wrestled with, the pressure you felt to remain strong, the isolation of carrying a vision others didn't understand. All of that weighs heavier than physical labor. But now God is removing that invisible weight. He is lifting the unseen burdens. You may not feel it all at once, but the shift has already begun. Where there was confusion, there will be clarity. Where there was heaviness, there will be lightness. Where there was delay, there will be acceleration. Don't you dare believe that your best days are behind you. That is a lie whispered into the tired ears of the faithful to break their momentum. But God says your latter days will be greater than the former. What's ahead of you is bigger than what's behind you. The struggle may have worn down your body, but it has built up your spirit. And what God is about to do will not be because you had perfect strength, but because you had unwavering faith. God rewards those who trust Him in the dark. God rewards those who stay faithful when no one is watching. When you chose integrity over compromise, when you forgave instead of retaliating, when you stayed instead of walking away, that was strength not born from willpower, but from the Spirit of the Almighty sustaining you in secret. And now what was done in secret, God is about to reward openly. There will be a visible shift, a public outpouring of what was cultivated in private pain. Every time you resisted the urge to quit, heaven recorded it. Every time you bowed your head in exhaustion and whispered, God, I still believe, a record was kept. And not one moment was wasted. God stores every tear, and He weighs every sacrifice. And now He is tipping the scales in your favor. You will not just receive back what was lost, you will receive what eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, and hearts have not imagined. That is the promise of the one who never breaks His word. And listen, this isn't just about recovery. This is about release. God is not just restoring you back to where you were. He's releasing you into where you were always meant to be. The battles have prepared you for this. The weariness was the womb for wisdom. The fire did not burn you. It purified you. And now, as the smoke clears, you will see what God was doing all along. He was strengthening you in silence, maturing you in solitude, and preparing you for a platform that is built on surrender, not self. So don't grow bitter in your tiredness. Let it make you more tender to the voice of God. Let it draw you closer, not farther, because that very tiredness is the place of your transformation. That exhaustion is not the evidence of failure, it is the threshold of breakthrough. And the moment you stop resisting and start resting in the power of God, you will see doors open that no key could unlock. There are things about your life you still don't understand. There are losses you still grieve, betrayals that still sting, delays that still frustrate. But God is not finished. He is the author of your story, and He has not handed the pen to anyone else. The pages ahead are not blank. They are filled with moments of redemption, restoration, and radical change. What looks like the end is simply the turning of a page, and the next chapter will not carry the weight of the former. You are being shifted, not shattered. You are being positioned, not punished. You are being stretched, not broken. And all of it has a purpose. God wastes nothing. Not your pain, not your process, not your exhaustion. Everything is being used to usher in something that could only be birthed through faith forged in fire. And one day, very soon, you will look back on this season not with sorrow but with sacred gratitude. You will understand why it had to be this way. Because if God had rescued you too soon, you would have missed the deeper work. You would have missed the revelation. But now you carry something more than answers. You carry wisdom. You carry perspective. You carry strength that doesn't come from this world. And now, right now, God is drawing near to you, not because you cried the loudest, but because your heart stayed faithful when no one understood your journey. Your tiredness has become the altar upon which your devotion is laid. Every silent prayer, every unseen effort, every moment you resisted the urge to run away has risen like incense before the throne of the Almighty. And God, in His perfect wisdom, has not only heard you, He is responding not with delay, not with a whisper of hope, but with a divine interruption that will shake the ground beneath your despair and replace it with solid peace. There are seasons when God hides His hand so you will search His heart. And in the stillness, in the long nights of tears and unanswered questions, your soul has been learning something sacred. How to know God not through what He gives, but through who He is. And now that knowing will become your strength. That intimacy will become your security because you no longer follow God only for His blessings. You follow Him because you have tasted His faithfulness even in the drought. And that kind of trust birthed in the shadows will carry you through every valley ahead. You've been asking for relief, and God is preparing release. You've asked for a way out, and God is preparing a way through. You've asked for answers, and God is giving you revelation. You've asked for rest, and God is clothing you with resilience. This is not just a response. It is a holy reversal. That which was meant to crush you is becoming the very thing that launches you. That which once made you weep will become the reason you praise. For when God steps in, nothing remains the same. And don't you dare think God is late. He is never late. God moves in precision, not pressure. He does not respond to panic. He responds to purpose. And your life is not drifting aimlessly. It is being carried by divine hands toward an appointed season. The weariness is proof that you've come a long way. The fatigue is a sign that you're closer than ever. If you could see what God has already released in the unseen realm, your soul would leap. The answer is already on the way. The provision is already being prepared. The protection has already been dispatched, and all of it is heading in your direction. Not because of who you are, but because of who God has always been, faithful, true, and merciful. Let this truth burn into your spirit. God knows when you've reached your limit. He knows when the last thread of strength is fraying, and He will not let you fall beneath the weight. He promised not to burden you beyond what you can bear. And He is not a God who breaks His promises. So when you feel like you're at your end, know this: it's not the end at all. It's the beginning of God's power rising in your life like never before. This is the place where miracles start, where the natural stops and the supernatural begins. You didn't come through the fire just to go back to the ashes. You didn't survive the wilderness to settle in defeat. You didn't walk through those lonely nights to live in the shadows. God is calling you out, not in your own strength, but in His. He's calling you to rise again, to believe again, to breathe again. Not as the broken, but as the bold. Not as the weary, but as the warrior. Because this time you will not be moving in your own might. You will be carried by the wind of divine strength. Breathe straight from the mouth of the Almighty. This tiredness will not define you. This fatigue will not finish you. It will forge you into someone who walks with clarity, speaks with authority, and lives with peace that cannot be taken away. Because once you've known what it is to be carried by God in your weakest state, nothing and no one will be able to shake your faith again. You will not fear the valley because you've walked through it and saw God waiting there. You will not dread the storm because you've weathered it under divine shelter. You will not question the silence because you've learned that God speaks the loudest through stillness. And now, as you stand in the quiet moments between exhaustion and renewal, know this: God is not only about to lift your burden, He is about to lift your head. He is about to show you that what looked like the end was only the beginning of a new anointing over your life. A new season is opening before you, not built on striving, but on surrender. Not driven by ambition, but led by purpose. Not marked by fear, but sealed with peace. You are not who you were when this season began. The fire changed you. The fatigue refined you. The tears have taught you. And the presence of God has carried you. You've been led by His hand even when you couldn't trace it. And now that same hand is turning the page. A new chapter begins. One not written by your exhaustion, but by God's intervention. One not marked by your weakness, but by His overwhelming strength. So lift your hands not in defeat, but in surrender. Lift your voice not in fear, but in expectation. The same God who noticed your weariness is the one stepping in right now with strength, with calm, and with a promise. I did not bring you this far to abandon you. I have held you through the darkest hours. Now I will shine my light over you. Rest in me. Trust in me. For I am your God, and I will not forsake you. This is the truth you can anchor your soul to. This is the word that can hold the foundation of your life. When all else fades away, this stands unshaken. God is moving now. The season is changing. The weight is being lifted. And you, yes, you, will rise again. Not because you never grew weary, but because you leaned on God in your weakness. The one who holds the heavens has never failed, and He never will. Before the foundations of the earth were set, God already existed. Before the sun ignited its first flame, before the mountains took shape, before time itself began to measure history, God was. And even now He remains all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present, sovereign over heaven and earth. But in today's hurried world, filled with glittering distractions and fleeting pleasures, many have strayed from the ancient way. Many chase after God's hand rather than seeking His face. They crave the gifts but not the giver. They long for the blessings, but not the presence. They desire success without surrender. And that, my friends, is the deep tragedy of our generation. We have become a people consumed with results. We desire healing without humility, breakthrough without obedience, prosperity without prayer. We hurry to the altar not with hearts bowed in reverence, but with hands outstretched demanding more. God bless me, God promote me, God expand me. But who will cry out, God, I want you, even if the blessings never come? Who will say, take everything from me, but don't take yourself? The deepest hunger of the soul is not for things, it is for God. And until we put Him first, nothing else will ever satisfy. Let me tell you something truthfully and plainly. God is not a vending machine. He is not a silent force waiting to dispense rewards to the most demanding voices. He is a holy, righteous, jealous God. And He desires to be first, not second, not third, not squeezed in when it's convenient. He wants to be the heartbeat of your day, the fire in your bones, the song in your night. He wants to be the first thought when you rise and the last whisper when you sleep. Not because He is desperate for attention, but because He knows that your soul cannot survive without Him. You may think you're hungry for a breakthrough, but what you're really starving for is God Himself. And don't be deceived. Just because your hands are full doesn't mean your heart is satisfied. Just because life looks good on the outside doesn't mean the soul is alive on the inside. People are climbing ladders to success only to find them leaning against the wrong wall. They have houses but no peace, relationships but no intimacy, possessions but no purpose. You see, blessings without God are like rivers without water, like fire without heat. They look promising, but they cannot sustain. They cannot save. They cannot satisfy. So hear me now. Seek God first. Not because He will bless you, but because He is the blessing. He is the source. He is the treasure. He is the reward. Those who seek Him lack no good thing. Not because they are always rich or famous or healthy, but because they have found something far greater. They have found communion with the Most High. They have found the one who knows their name, who bottles every tear, who numbers every hair. When you find God, you find peace that the world cannot offer and the devil cannot steal. God is not impressed with empty words or showy religion. He is not moved by routines and rituals. He is moved by a heart that seeks Him earnestly, relentlessly, sacrificially. A heart that says, God, even if you close every door I hope for, I will still worship you. Even if you say no, I will still kneel in awe. That is the heart that God draws near to. That is the heart He honors. That is the life He transforms. You may be waiting for a miracle. You may be pleading for open doors, for healing, for a shift in your season. But I urge you, before you seek the miracle worker. Before you seek the door, seek the one who opens and shuts according to His perfect wisdom. Before you seek healing, seek the healer. Because sometimes what you think is a delay is actually a divine invitation to go deeper. Sometimes God withholds the blessing so you can discover the Blessed One. How many times have people run to God in crisis only to walk away when comfort returns? How many seek His help when their back is against the wall but ignore Him when the road becomes smooth again? God is not a lifeboat you abandon when you reach the shore. He is the ocean itself. He is the reason you live and move and have your being. To treat Him as a convenience is to miss the greatest relationship you were ever meant to have. Do you want to be truly blessed? Then build your life around God, not around what He can give you. Make Him your foundation. Make Him your priority. Wake up early not to chase wealth, but to sit in silence and hear His voice. Fast not to manipulate His hand, but to empty yourself and say, God, you are enough. Study not to gain knowledge alone, but to encounter the living God in every line and every truth. That's what it means to seek God first. It is to rearrange your entire life around Him, not just fit Him into the gaps. Some of you are wondering why everything feels empty, why the success didn't fulfill you, why the applause didn't heal your wounds, why the relationship didn't fill the void. It's because you were created to walk with God, not just to be blessed by Him. His presence is your home. His word is your compass. His voice is your anchor in the storm. And until He becomes your everything, everything else will always feel like not enough. Don't be fooled by this world's version of blessing. Fame fades, riches vanish, beauty withers. But the one who walks with God walks in a blessing that cannot be shaken. You may not have the spotlight, but you'll have His favor. You may not be the loudest voice, but you'll have His whisper in the quiet. You may not have all you want, but you'll have all you need. And that is the real blessing, to walk in step with the Almighty. People chase after God's hand because they have not seen the beauty of His face. They have not tasted the sweetness of His presence. But once you have, nothing else will do. Once you have stood in His glory, everything else loses its shine. Once your heart has been ignited by His fire, you can't go back to lukewarm living. That is why God sometimes strips us of the very things we thought we needed, so that we might finally see that He alone is our portion. So if God removes the blessing, will you still worship? If He delays the answer, will you still trust? If He says, wait, will you still serve? That is the test of true faith. Not what you do when He gives, but what you do when He withholds. The mature soul says, even if He slays me, yet will I trust Him, because the goal is not comfort, the goal is closeness, the goal is not abundance, the goal is adoration, the goal is not the blessing, the goal is God. And I say to you now with urgency in my spirit, return to the secret place. Return to that quiet room where you first heard His voice. Return to the simplicity of loving Him for who He is, not for what He can do. Let the fire of hunger consume you again. Let the thirst for righteousness overwhelm your soul. Let every idol be cast down. Let every counterfeit be exposed. Let your heart cry out, not for more things, but for more of God. That is the beginning of true revival. You don't need a bigger platform. You need a deeper altar. You don't need more followers. You need more time on your knees. You don't need more affirmation. You need more intimacy with God. Because when you seek God first, blessings will chase you. Doors will open that no man can shut. Favor will surround you like a shield. But those things will be byproducts, not your pursuit. The pursuit must always be God alone. So I urge you today, realign your life, examine your motives, ask yourself the hard questions. Do I love God, or do I just love what He gives me? Am I building His kingdom or asking Him to build mine? Am I surrendered or just selective? These are the questions that shake the soul. These are the questions that lead to true transformation. And only when we face them honestly can we rise into the fullness of what God has prepared for those who love Him. You don't need to chase after every open door. You need to chase after God. You don't need to compete with the world. You need to commune with the one who created it. You don't need to fear missing out. You need to fear missing Him. Because when God is first, everything else finds its proper place. Peace reigns. Purpose awakens. Blessings come not as idols to distract, but as tools to glorify Him. But when God is not first, even blessings become burdens. There is a kind of poverty in this world that no amount of riches can cure, the poverty of a soul disconnected from its Creator. A soul that hungers for more, but feasts on dust. A heart that reaches for blessings like empty hands chasing the wind, never realizing that what it truly longs for is God Himself. There is no substitute for the presence of God. Not wealth, not recognition, not comfort, not even religious activity. You can surround yourself with everything the world calls good and still feel hollow if God is not the center of it all. When God is not first, everything else becomes misaligned. The heart becomes restless, the spirit anxious, the mind distracted. That is why so many feel exhausted, not just physically, but spiritually. They are carrying burdens they were never meant to carry. They are chasing promises while ignoring the promiser. They have turned faith into a transaction, seeking God only to get something in return, as if He were a means to an end. But God is not a tool for our ambition. He is the purpose, the source, and the destination. To seek God first is not just about giving Him the top spot on your to-do list. It is about surrendering your entire existence to His will, His timing, and His truth. God does not compete for your attention. He waits, patient but not passive, loving but not indulgent. When you ignore Him, He doesn't chase after you with noise. He allows silence to settle in so that your heart might finally recognize its own emptiness without Him. It is in that silence, in that holy stillness, that the voice of God becomes loudest. But you must be willing to silence the world, to quiet your desires, and to listen not for what you want to hear, but for what God is truly saying. There is no greater pursuit than the pursuit of God. Not because He is hiding, but because He is holy. His presence is not discovered through casual glances or hurried prayers. It is found when the soul becomes desperate. When you drop every idol, every distraction, every false hope, and fall to your knees with one cry, God, I need You more than I need anything else. That's when the heavens begin to open. That's when the soul begins to revive. That's when clarity replaces confusion and strength replaces weakness. So many are waiting for God to change their situation, but God is waiting for you to change your position, not your physical posture, but your heart posture. Are you seeking God with convenience or with conviction? Are you coming to Him as a guest in your life or as the one who owns your life? There is no halfway surrender. There is no casual seeking that unlocks deep intimacy. If you want the fullness of God, you must give Him the fullness of you. And understand this. Sometimes God delays the blessing not to punish you, but to protect you from loving the blessing more than you love Him. He sees how fragile our devotion can be. He knows how quickly we forget when things get easy. So, in His mercy, He withholds not to break us, but to build in us a faith that cannot be shaken by seasons or circumstances. Faith that says, even if nothing changes, I will still seek You. Even if doors remain closed, I will still trust You. Even if the blessing never comes, I will still serve You with all that I am. That kind of faith cannot be faked. It is forged in fire. It is born in the wilderness. It grows when God seems silent, when prayers feel unanswered, when hope is tested again and again. But in that wilderness, something beautiful happens. You stop seeking the blessing and you start seeking God. And when you find Him in the dry place, you discover that He is the oasis you didn't know you needed. You discover that His presence is the blessing. Not what He gives, but who He is. The true sign of a blessed life is not abundance. It is alignment. Alignment with God's will. Alignment with His purpose. Alignment with His timing. And that kind of alignment only comes through consistent, deep, passionate seeking of God. Not just on the mountaintops, but in the valleys. Not just when things are going right, but especially when they're falling apart. Because it's in those moments, the moments of pain, confusion, and stillness, that the soul is most open to transformation. Do not measure your spiritual life by your material conditions. There are people with full bank accounts and empty souls. There are others with nothing but God, and yet they are overflowing with peace, with strength, with purpose. Because when you truly seek God, you tap into a power that the world cannot replicate. You receive joy that circumstances cannot destroy. You find purpose that no one can steal from you. That is what it means to be blessed. That is what it means to walk in divine favor. But beware of distractions. The greatest enemy to a God-first life is not always evil. It is often the good things that become idols. It is the career that consumes your thoughts, the relationships that demand your energy, the goals that steal your focus. None of these things are wrong, but when they replace God, when they rise above Him in your heart, they become chains. They may look like blessings, but they slowly rob you of your intimacy with the one who gave them to you. God must be sought with urgency, not passivity, with hunger, not apathy, with fire, not formality. A seeking heart is not content with yesterday's encounter. It yearns for more, not more things, but more of God's presence, more of His truth, more of His refining. Because the one who seeks God is never stagnant. They are always growing, always stretching, always moving towards something deeper. And that depth becomes their foundation, their compass, their identity. God is not calling you to a life of endless striving for His approval. He is calling you to rest in the assurance that you belong to Him, and that seeking Him is the only thing that will keep you grounded in a shaking world. Everything else will shift. People will change. Seasons will come and go. But when God is your foundation, you will stand firm. You will not be tossed by every wind. You will not be crushed by every hardship. You will not be seduced by every lie. The path to blessing is not paved with manipulation or performance. It is carved through surrender. It is walked with humility. It is led by obedience. When you stop demanding and start listening, when you stop rushing and start waiting, when you stop pursuing results and start pursuing God, you will see doors open that no effort could ever force. You will see peace settle into places that used to be filled with anxiety. You will see a joy rise up that makes no sense to the world. This is the secret the world cannot comprehend, that the greatest treasure is not in what God does for you, but in who God is to you. The one who finds this treasure no longer worries about outcomes. They are no longer tossed by opinions. They are no longer afraid of loss because they have anchored their hope not in blessings that fade, but in the eternal God who never changes. So wake up your soul, call it to attention, shake off the numbness that life has tried to place on your spirit. Refuse to live another day casually connected to God. Seek Him with tears if you must. Seek Him with fasting. Seek Him with relentless devotion. Let your pursuit of God be the loudest testimony of your life. Let your hunger for Him speak louder than your success, your status, or your reputation. Let the fire in your heart declare to the world, I seek God first, not because I am perfect, but because I know I am nothing without Him. There is coming a time when every foundation will be tested, when storms will blow and fires will rage. What will hold you then? Not the blessings, not the things you acquired, only God, only the relationship you built with Him in the secret place, only the trust that was forged in the furnace of seeking. That is what will carry you through. That is what will keep you standing when everything else falls. You want to live a life that is unshakable? Then let God be your first pursuit, your daily bread, your unrelenting desire. Not just in the morning, not just when problems come, but every moment, in every decision, in every dream. Seek Him, not just with your lips, but with your life. And watch how everything else begins to change. Not because God finally decided to bless you, but because you finally discovered that seeking Him was the greatest blessing of all. The world will always try to convince you that fulfillment lies in what you can achieve, accumulate, or control. But the soul knows better. The soul was never designed to be filled by things. It was created to be filled by God. And until you truly seek God with your whole heart, you will continue to feel the ache of emptiness, no matter how full your hands may be. You see, success without God is merely noise. Comfort without God is a trap. Prosperity without God is a path that leads to spiritual poverty. The enemy of your soul doesn't always come dressed as destruction. Sometimes he comes disguised as distraction. Not to destroy you outright, but to detour you from the one pursuit that actually matters, seeking God above all else. There are moments in your life when you must stop everything and ask yourself, what am I truly chasing? Am I chasing peace or the Prince of Peace? Am I chasing breakthroughs or the one who breaks every chain? Am I chasing answers or the one who is the source of all wisdom? Many people spend years running after the wind only to collapse in exhaustion, wondering why they feel so lost. The answer is simple. They put the blessing before the one who blesses. They looked for fruit but ignored the root. They tried to build a life without the foundation of God, and now they are sinking in the sand of their own ambition. God does not play hide and seek. He is not far off. He is near to those who call upon Him in truth, but He is not found in shallow waters. He is not discovered in the rush. You must go deep. You must be still. You must let go of your pride, your plans, your need to control, and seek Him with a heart stripped of pretense. A heart that is not trying to manipulate, not trying to impress, but simply longing to connect with the Creator of all things. There is a fire that comes when you seek God sincerely. It's not a fire that consumes you. It's a fire that refines you. It burns away the impurities, the lies, the fears, the false identities you've clung to. It reveals who you really are. And more importantly, it reveals who God really is. And once you've tasted that refining fire, you'll never settle for lukewarm religion again. You'll never settle for secondhand spirituality. You'll want the real thing. You'll want God, not a filtered version, not a cultural adaptation, but the living, breathing, holy, sovereign God who speaks into the silence and shapes destinies with a whisper. Many only turn to God when hardships strike, but those who truly know Him, the ones who carry unshakable peace and walk in divine strength, seek God in every season. in moments of joy and in seasons of sorrow, in times of plenty and in times of need, in celebration and in mourning, because they know God is not bound by seasons. He is eternal. He is not just part of your life. He is life itself. He is not simply the last resort. You run to Him before the fire ever starts, not only when it burns. When you live with that kind of honor, when your heart pursues Him with that kind of devotion, you step into blessings beyond measure. Not merely in possessions, but in His presence. Not always seen on the outside, but transforming you on the inside. Here is a truth many try to ignore. There is no shortcut to God's power. There is no replacement for walking closely with Him each and every day. You cannot fake spiritual intimacy. You cannot microwave spiritual maturity. If you want to walk in wisdom, if you want to carry divine authority, if you want to live a life that truly matters, you must pay the price of seeking God with your whole heart. Not half, not when you feel like it, not when everything else fails. Every day, every breath, every choice. And don't misunderstand, God is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be present. He is not waiting for your flawless performance. He is longing for your surrendered heart. The beauty of seeking God first is that you begin to realize that He has already been seeking you. He's been waiting at the door, knocking, whispering, drawing you to Himself. And once you open that door, once you truly let Him in, not just into your schedule, but into your very soul, you begin to live with a clarity, a purpose, a power that no man can take away. But you must protect that pursuit, because once you start seeking God first, the world will try to pull you back. Distractions will rise. People will misunderstand you. Voices will try to tell you that you're wasting time, that you need to focus on more practical things. But remember this, there is nothing more practical than walking in step with the One who created time itself. There is no greater advantage than hearing from the God who sees the end from the beginning. There is no higher calling than to be known by Him, and to know Him not just in theory, but in intimacy. Seek God first, not just to receive blessings, but to understand how to handle them. Because blessings without wisdom can destroy you. Prosperity without humility can corrupt you. Influence without submission can ruin you. But when you seek God first, He prepares your character before He enlarges your territory. He teaches you how to carry the blessing without the blessing carrying you away. He molds your heart to stay anchored even when the winds of success begin to blow. And hear this with urgency. If your greatest desire is not God, then your heart is aiming too low. You were not created for shallow living. You were not placed on this earth to blend in and drift along. You were created to burn brightly with purpose, to shine with the light of truth, to be so filled with God that the world can't help but notice. That is the power of seeking God first. It transforms you. It elevates you. It marks you. And it causes you to walk in a divine rhythm that no man-made plan can replicate. Some of you have been asking, why hasn't God blessed me yet? Why hasn't He opened that door? Why does it feel like I'm stuck? Could it be that He's waiting for you to seek Him more than the answer? Could it be that the delay is not punishment but preparation? Could it be that He's calling you deeper, stripping away the noise, allowing you to be emptied so that you can finally be filled with Him? There is a sacred power that comes when you make God your priority. You become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because your spirit becomes stronger. You walk through valleys with courage. You face trials with peace. You endure storms with confidence because you know who walks with you. You know who holds your future. You know who fights your battles. Not because you memorize the formula, but because you've built a relationship. That is what seeking God first accomplishes. It makes you rooted, immovable, steadfast no matter what comes. So let the world chase fame. Let them chase fortune. Let them chase fleeting pleasures. But as for you, set your heart on God. Make Him your pursuit. Make Him your ambition. Make Him your obsession. And you will find not only are you blessed, you become a blessing. You become a vessel, a carrier of light, a voice of truth, a warrior of peace, a living witness that when God is first, everything else falls into place. Not always as you imagine, but always as it should be. Seek God before you seek approval. Seek God before you seek applause. Seek God before you make a decision, before you move forward, before you plan your future. Because when you get Him right, everything else comes into alignment. He doesn't promise a life free from trouble, but He promises a life filled with purpose. He doesn't promise that you won't cry, but He promises you'll never cry alone. He doesn't promise that the road will be easy, but He walks every step with you. There is no greater pursuit than this: to know God, to love God, to seek God first, not just once, not just when it's convenient, but every single day with all your strength, with all your soul, and with every fiber of your being. That is the pursuit that changes everything. That is the journey that never ends. That is the life worth living. There comes a time in every person's life when the noise of the world begins to fade and the voice of eternity becomes louder. That voice is not shouting, it is calling. It is not demanding, it is drawing. And it is the voice of God whispering to your soul, come closer, come higher, come deeper. Not because God needs anything from you, but because He wants to give you something that no one else can Himself. And when you truly understand that God Himself is the ultimate prize, every other pursuit starts to look empty. Let the world call it madness. Let them mock the one who rises before the sun to seek God. Let them question the one who walks away from fleeting pleasures and shallow fame. Because the one who seeks God first is not living for the applause of men. They are living for the approval of the Almighty. They are building a life that cannot be shaken even when the storms of this world try to tear it down, because they have discovered something most never will. That intimacy with God is worth more than anything this world could offer. When you seek God first, you begin to see through different eyes. You don't chase what everyone else is chasing. You don't panic when doors close. You don't lose yourself in disappointment because you know that God orders every step, and even the delays are divine. Even the detours are designed. Even the silence is sacred. You stop demanding explanations and start trusting the one who sees the end from the beginning. That's the confidence of a soul rooted in God. Not arrogance, but assurance. Not pride, but peace. Not control, but surrender. There is something powerful about the person who has made God their one desire. They are not easily swayed. They do not crumble under pressure. They do not bow to idols of popularity, success, or comfort, because they have tasted something greater. They have touched the eternal. They have encountered the living God, and they know that nothing compares to His nearness. These are the people who change generations, who shift atmospheres, who walk in power not because of who they are, but because of whose they are. They don't seek God for what He can do. They seek Him for who He is. That is the kind of pursuit that heaven honors. Understand this. God cannot be second. He will not share the throne of your heart with your career, your goals, your plans, or your ego. He must be first. Not because he is insecure, but because anything less will destroy you. When God is not first, everything becomes fragile. Relationships crumble under unmet expectations. Ambitions lead to burnouts. Achievements leave you hollow. But when God is first, everything finds its place. You begin to walk in alignment. You begin to hear clearly. You begin to live purposefully. The chaos of life doesn't disappear, but it loses its power to shake you. Seeking God is not a one-time decision. It is a daily discipline. It is waking up and choosing again and again to prioritize what is unseen over what is seen, to invest in the eternal instead of the temporary, to quiet the distractions so that you can hear the whisper. Because God does not compete with noise. He doesn't shout over the chaos. He waits for you to come away to the secret place, to the stillness, to the depth where transformation happens. That is where you receive wisdom for the day. That is where your soul is refilled. That is where the fire is reignited. If your life feels out of control, ask yourself this: who or what have I put before God? Because anything you place above Him will eventually break your heart. Money can disappear. People can disappoint. Health can fail. But God remains faithful, constant, unshakable. He is the anchor in your storm, the light in your darkness, the voice in your silence. And when you make Him your first pursuit, your whole life begins to reflect a divine order that no human effort could orchestrate. Some chase fame, others chase wealth, still others chase relationships, trying to fill a hole that only God can fill. But you, if you are wise, you will chase God. You will run hard after Him, not casually, not occasionally, but relentlessly, because you understand that seeking God is not just about accessing blessing, it is about becoming who you were created to be. You were not made to drift through life. You were not born to chase shadows. You were formed by God for God to walk with God. And when you do, everything else begins to align in ways you could never have planned. There is a difference between knowing about God and knowing God. One fills your mind, the other transforms your life. One gives you information, the other gives you revelation. And that revelation only comes when you pursue Him with a heart that says, I don't want anything more than I want you. That is the place where pride dies, fear flees, and clarity comes. That is where purpose is birthed and strength is renewed. That is where the broken become whole and the weary find rest, not in a change of circumstances, but in a deep, unshakable connection with God. This world is moving fast. Temptation is louder than ever. Distractions are dressed in gold. But don't let them steal your hunger. Don't let them dull your pursuit. Don't let them trade your eternal reward for temporary comfort. You are not like everyone else. You are called to higher ground. You are chosen for something deeper. You are set apart not for comfort, but for consecration. And your power will always be found in your pursuit of God. Don't wait for a crisis to seek Him. Don't wait until everything falls apart. Seek Him now in your youth, in your strength, in your ordinary days. Seek Him when the sky is blue and when the storm clouds gather. Seek Him when it makes sense and when it doesn't. Seek Him with laughter and with tears. Seek Him when the world is watching and when no one is looking. That is the life that brings glory to God. That is the life that echoes into eternity. And remember, seeking God is not a race for perfection. It is a journey of devotion. It is walking with Him, not just on the mountain, but through the valley. It is holding on to Him when nothing makes sense. It is praising Him when the blessings delay. It is choosing faith when fear screams loudest. That is what it means to seek God first. Not with conditions, not with ultimatums, but with total trust. There is a sacred urgency rising in this hour, a call from the depths of the unseen, a stirring from the realm where truth lives unshaken. It is the voice of God calling His people back to Himself. Not back to religion, not back to performance, but back to relationship, to intimacy, to surrender. There is a hunger growing among those who have tasted everything this world offers and found it all to be dust. The soul cannot be deceived forever. It knows the difference between shallow waters and deep springs. It knows when it's being fed and when it's merely being entertained. And the soul that truly seeks God will not be satisfied with substitutes. It longs for the real, raw, holy presence of the one who created it. God is not interested in being your emergency exit. He is not satisfied with weekend visits and crisis prayers. He is not honored when we treat Him like a spare tire, only acknowledged when something goes flat. God is not a background presence. He is the main thread, the centerpiece, the breath in your lungs and the fire in your bones. He is not just a part of your life. He is life. Until you understand that, every blessing will feel incomplete. Every victory will feel hollow. Every mountain will eventually turn into another valley. But when God becomes your pursuit, your daily pursuit, your primary passion, then even the valley becomes a sanctuary. Even your struggles turn into testimonies. Even silence becomes sacred. Some of you are waiting for peace to come when the storm ends. But those who seek God first know a greater truth. Peace is not found in the absence of trouble, but in the presence of God. You can walk through fire and not be burned. You can sit in the midst of chaos and remain still, not because of who you are, but because of who God is to you. That is the power of pursuit. That is the reward of making God first. Not that the world around you changes, but that you are changed. You become steady. You become unmovable. You become a vessel through which the light of the eternal shines in a world drunk on darkness. Let me ask you this. What does your heart chase when no one is watching? What do you dream of in the quiet? What stirs you to get out of bed in the morning? If it is anything other than God, then you have built your life on shifting ground. Because everything outside of God can and will shake. The economy can shake. Relationships can shake. Health can shake. But God, He never moves. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The soul that clings to Him will never be swept away. God is not impressed by external appearances. He sees the motive behind the movement. He sees the posture behind the prayer. He knows the difference between seeking Him and seeking what He can do. And He rewards those who seek Him not as a means to an end, but as the end itself. The greatest reward of seeking God is not what He gives you. It is that He gives you Himself. And that, my friend, is more than enough. When you make God your first and only pursuit, something supernatural begins to happen. You begin to crave what is holy. You begin to hunger for truth. Your spirit becomes sensitive to His whisper. your eyes open to His signs, your heart aligned with His timing. You stop striving and start abiding. You stop performing and start resting. You stop chasing outcomes and start walking in obedience. And in that obedience, you begin to walk in a power that the world cannot imitate and darkness cannot withstand. This world is loud with its invitations. It sells illusions wrapped in glitter. It markets counterfeit purpose under the disguise of achievement. But deep down, you know it's all smoke. It's all mirrors. Nothing can satisfy the soul but God. Nothing. And those who seek Him early, who seek Him earnestly, who seek Him not just with their lips but with their entire being, they are the ones who will walk in a kind of peace that cannot be disturbed, a kind of strength that does not fade, a kind of clarity that cuts through confusion, like a sword through fog. To seek God first means to dethrone everything else, to remove idols that may have crept into your life quietly, politely, wearing the mask of ambition, entertainment, relationships, even religion. Anything that takes more of your attention, more of your energy, more of your affection than God, that thing is too expensive for your soul. Let it go. Burn it down. Rip it from the altar of your heart and offer that space back to the one who made you. He will fill it with glory. This is not a call to extremism. It is a call to excellence of devotion, a call to stop giving God your leftovers, a call to stop delaying obedience, a call to wake up from spiritual slumber and return to the fire of the secret place. God is calling a people who will not just visit His presence but dwell in it, who will not just pray in crisis but commune daily, who will not just speak His name but live under His authority. That's where the transformation happens. That's where breakthrough is born. That's where blessings no longer control you because your heart is already full with God. You cannot fake the fruit of seeking God. You cannot manufacture the fragrance of His presence. It is born out of sacrifice, out of discipline, out of choosing Him again and again, especially when the flesh wants something else, especially when your emotions rage and your circumstances contradict His promise. That is when your faith becomes fireproof. That is when your worship becomes war. That is when your surrender becomes a signal to heaven that you are ready, not just for what God can do, but for who God is. Let the tears fall if they must. Let the distractions be cut off. Let the noise die down. Let your heart return. For God is not looking for casual followers. He is looking for seekers, those who will chase after Him as if their very breath depends on it, because it does. Those who will not be content with stories from others, but will say, I must see for myself. I must hear for myself. I must know you, God, not secondhand, but face to face. And when you live that way, when you make seeking God your lifestyle, not your last resort, you begin to see His fingerprints in every detail. You hear Him in the silence. You sense Him in the stillness. You know that even when the world shakes, your spirit stands tall because it is rooted not in things, not in people, but in God alone. That is a life of power. That is a life of purpose. That is a life of peace. So I say to you now, with the full weight of urgency and the fire of conviction, seek God first and keep seeking Him, not just with your words, but with your life. Let your days be marked by devotion, not distraction. Let your heart beat for the unseen, not the temporary. Make God your foundation, your compass, your sustainer, and your only true desire. For when you truly seek God above all else, you will walk in a peace this world cannot give, a strength it cannot break, and a purpose it cannot understand. Your journey will no longer be dictated by shifting circumstances, but guided by the firm hand of the Almighty. Fear will not toss you around, nor will the craving for possessions bind you, because your soul will rest secure in the one who never fails. Do not wait for another storm to remind you how much you need God. Do not wait for loss to awaken you to what is truly important. Decide today. Decide now. Decide to pursue God with all that you are. And when you do, blessings will surely come, but they will not control you. Opportunities will open, but they will not distract you, because your heart will remain steadfast, your spirit will stand firm, and your eyes will stay fixed on God, the source of every good thing. All that is pure, all that is everlasting. Seek Him first. Love Him above all. Trust Him completely, and you will never be without what truly matters.